And I came here in 1986 to run it for myself, and I signed the papers, and I was owner of the Red Barn Incorporated. People come in here for the experience, more so than I think anything else. And they love the fact that somebody's actually taking the time to listen. Maybe you learn in proportion to how much you listen and care. If you can find that balance between doing what you love that isn't really work, that might pay the bills, and can resonate with people and actually to some extent help people. Without my customers, I would be doing what I don't love, guaranteed.
Anything.
Oh, thank
May I make a suggestion?
Sure.
Today is 9/11, September 11th. Do we have a moment of silence to honor those victims?
See why not?
Yeah. We could do it,
Probably right before our pledge, or right after the
or
pledge.
maybe right after the pledge.
Yeah, that might be the. Are we gonna do the pledge and everything before?
Hey, we're packing them in tonight.
Well, they probably think it starts at 7.
Yeah.
Well, let's hurry and get through it.
I mean, we can be done by 7, right? Come on, executive session real quick.
Meeting adjourned.
Move that.
Thank you.
Out of curiosity, how do you wanna do it? Roll call, then do you wanna do allegiance and all that, or you wanna do that after we come out of executive session?
Probably after we do
Let's just do the roll call and then go into
A
executive
few
session.
pens in my vehicle.
that's one thought.
Yeah, I think that's probably the way to do it. You wanna do it now? What's Trish at? Excuse me. Okay, call this meeting to order. Roll call vote.
Ray Karen, Ken Fletcher,
Here.
Jerry Kurian,
Yes,
Steve
I'm here.
Russell,
Yes.
Ben Twitchell,
Here.
Jeff West,
I'm here.
Patricia West.
Here.
Sister and brother.
Mr. Kurian.
I think it's up to you, Jim.
Motion to enter into an executive session pursuant to 1 MRSA subsection 405, 6D, labor negotiations.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Passes. Call the meeting to order. We've done the roll call, correct? Okay, do you want to do the movement of silence before?
Well, we could do the pledge of
Okay, let's do the pledge of allegiance first.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Begin by telling people to please mute or shut off your cell phones if you have them. And why don't you announce it?
Okay, since today is September 11th, and not 2001, but 2017, it is the 16th year of the 9/11 terrorist attacks on this country. And we'd like to have a moment of silence, please.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the previous meeting.
So moved.
Second. Moved and seconded. Any corrections? Deletions, omissions? If not, all in favor, please raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Communications, legislative report. She's not here tonight. Anybody have any thoughts on what's going on, I guess, there? If not, we'll move on to a public comment period where anybody from the public could get up and speak for a couple minutes on a topic that they deem necessary. Go ahead, please stand to the mic and state your name and your address, please.
lost a part of our family, okay? Yes, there's nuisance dogs, okay? There's also things that cause nuisance to dogs, to make them misbehave. Our dog was not a barker. He was harassed by the children, he was harassed with fireworks. Then it got to a point, the dump truck scared him, the school buses scared him, he would hover in corners or go into a crate. Anyway, he's at the Waterville Humane Society, trying to find a home out in the country. A baby that we've had for 1 year, September 18th, since he was 8 weeks old. Our dogs have some rights here. The fireworks, the children throwing rocks at him. I've got video of, he doesn't show them taking his ball off the lawn, but it shows them throwing the tennis ball at the church. It just, what the community are doing to some of these animals. And they did it to our property when we first moved here. We had logs thrown at our home. I mean, where is it gonna end? I mean, do we have to move out of this community? You know, in all due respect, I'm beginning to wonder, do we belong here? You know, I mean, I'm very emotional, I apologize for that, I thank you for your time, but I'm just saying, I read that if they come on your property, then that's a different story. They don't necessarily have to be on your property to be a nuisance, to be harassing your animal. The fireworks at St. John's in the parking lot, that freaks dogs out in the neighborhood. You can hear all the dogs barking. Our dog didn't bark, he'd run and hide, and shake and pant, and, you know, I mean, he just was a nervous wreck. We surrendered him to give him a better life. And that's all I can say. I feel they deserve better. Yes, we should be out in rural. We should be more rural, residential. But there's still just a line there that the animals do have some rights to. And think of the babies, families with babies. I had 3 young boys, 3 babies. I mean, the fireworks going off till 10, 11 o'clock at night, you know, that's gonna disrupt their sleep. I just, you know, and then these children throwing rocks and taking stuff off property, the camera doesn't catch us, they can't do anything about it. Thank you for your time.
Please don't apologize for being emotional, we understand. I'm not sure what we can do to redress that problem, but let us think about it and see what we can come up with. Thank you. Any more public comments? If not, we'll move on. Oh, I'm sorry. Glad somebody else is watching.
I'm Kyle Price, I live at 147 Clinton Avenue, and I think it's, I just want to say, I think it's great that you've responded to the smoking concern that was raised at the last meeting with the ordinance you have. And as I read that, I just hope that that also includes e-cigarettes or vaping as well, just as I read the definition that you had in the agenda. So just maybe something to
We'll
consider.
double check that, make sure. Yeah.
Covered.
I think that was the intent, probably.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
Anything else? If not, we'll move on to the next item on the agenda, which is appointment. We have 3 of them. The reappointment of Ellery Keene to the planning board for a 5-year term. I believe there's no contest in any of these, so I'll just read them all, and then we'll take them all as one. And then the appointment of Matt Sheehan to the planning board for a 5-year term. Has he been on the planning board before? This is new for him, okay. And the appointment of Cynthia Pearl as a civil constable for the town of Winslow indefinitely. Are there any comments anybody would like to make on those 3 appointments? Ben?
I'm gonna ask a question. What is a civil constable? I didn't know. I mean, we got a police department.
Right. It's a person who's appointed by the town, who can serve civil paperwork, and typically those are court related documents. So if one attorney's office wants service done to someone, they can do that through the civil constable.
Okay, thank you.
Well, it says here indefinitely. There's no, in other words, they could be there even at 90 years old.
Well, I've been here 20 years, and that's the first time I've reappointed anybody.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering.
The other person must have retired, so.
Right, they did actually.
There was no term limit.
Correct.
I suppose there's a possibility if you ever had complaints, we would address it, but.
Yes. Yep.
Any other discussion? Do we need a motion to approve all three of those? Go ahead, Jerry.
So I make a motion to bundle these together and approve them.
A second.
Moved and seconded, any discussion? If not, all in favor, please raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Reports of committees and commissions, we'll begin with the town manager's report.
Mr. Chairman, unless there's other questions, the only item I have in my report that I wanted to talk to the council about and get some input in regards to the 87 Benton Avenue. You may be familiar, it's an older building, somewhat dilapidated. The foundation has been compromised, and there's some concern about the safety of the structure itself. I have communicated with Habitat for Humanity to see if they had any interest in the structure, and they do not. So at this point, I'm inclined to think our best option would be to demolish the building just to get rid of any safety risk of the building collapsing, and then perhaps selling the property.
You know, if I could, Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead.
I think based on the work that has been done, that's the most likely strategy we should employ, because probably we couldn't find anybody to bring it up to code, and if it isn't, and particularly considering the location, that could be a real hazard.
It's a very terrible egress. And there's no turnaround really inside of it. Any other questions about it? Go ahead.
When would we tear down the building?
Well, if the council appear to be favorable to that, then what I'll do is I'll get some estimates and then bring that back to the council for approval.
Another quick suggestion I would have would be maybe notifying the two butters, see if they would be interested in splitting the lot after it's demolished. It might be a case where they would want to pay a little bit, be willing to pay a little bit and defray some of the costs of the demolition.
Good.
If nobody else finds that objectionable.
No, yeah, I just have a question about the other foreclosed property that we had listed with Adrian Lovejoy. I think that one of them has a sale pending, which is the land on the Knoll Road.
The Knoll Road property right now, there is a sale pending, and the price was $15,000. And that was a 5-acre parcel, but it had limitations because it was wetland all around it, so.
Okay.
Back to 87 Benton Avenue. Can we make certain that that property, whoever we get to tear it down, that is done before frost starts penetrating the ground? Because I wouldn't want to wake up one morning and find out that, gee, the thing fell into Benton Avenue.
I'm not sure it's that dilapidated, but it probably would be nice to clean it up this year. You're right.
Good.
Pretty bad when Habitat for Humanity doesn't want it.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's kind of a red flag if they aren't interested
Yeah.
in it,
Yeah.
that it's not used, because they'll even take properties, tear them down and rebuild from scratch, and they didn't want that with this piece, you know, so. Anybody got any other questions for the town manager? Go ahead then.
You had the redevelopment of junior high property is on your
Yes.
report. Have you heard back from the Mullins Company yet?
No, I have not. I reached out to them last Friday.
Okay.
Tomorrow's Tuesday. I'll, if I don't hear from them by Wednesday, I'll reach out to them again on Wednesday.
We have the department reports, and the finance committee report, and the financial report. Does anybody have any questions they would like to have on any of the departments?
Make a motion, we accept.
It's been moved, is there a second?
So move.
Moved and seconded to accept all reports, any discussion? If not, all in favor, please raise your
Just
hand.
discussion
Oh,
a
please.
little bit
Yeah,
on,
go ahead.
since Paul's here.
Yeah.
I wondered if he could give us an update on the Clinton Avenue project and if it's ahead of schedule or behind schedule. I know there's just been some,
Under budget.
No, we haven't started, so I can't tell you how it is on budget. We're hoping to get our contractor in there this week. I believe the water district project is probably 85% complete, probably. They're working their way up the street. That's about where we are right now. I mean, our contractor is behind because we pushed them back because we were waiting for the water district to do their part, and then we get easement problems with CMP, so they went out and found some other work, so at this point, we have to wait for them to finish their projects and move in. We will get it paved before fall. We may only do the surface, the
Yeah.
front next spring, but
yeah.
will be, the sidewalks will be done and the surface will be paved. It's not a big project, it's 600 feet, so.
Yeah, were they supposed to shave some of the hill down? I remember that
We're
original.
gonna cut about a foot off the high spot.
Okay,
Couldn't do more than that because of the underground conduits in the sidewalk, all the Fairpoint utilities that are there. That would be too involved to try to get that moved, so we worked with what we had.
Any other questions while I have
Yeah.
Ben?
When is the work at Joanne supposed to start? You know, that thing.
Hopefully later this fall. I know our engineers finishing up the projects right now. Hopefully we'll get that out to bid in September, beginning of October.
So it won't be done this year?
Well, I'm hoping they'll get started. And
Okay.
I know one of the contractors was kind of interested that some of it is off-road, especially what's up behind the tennis court, so they figured they could do some of that, late fall, part of this winter until it gets really nasty. Try to,
Nice to start something off that tree.
we can.
Yeah, okay.
Jerry?
CMP on the hill. Have they gotten all their easements?
Last I knew, they were still waiting for two from the commercial property, and I haven't spoken to the gentleman since beginning of last week, so I'm hoping that they did. That's all I can tell you. The difficult ones we had, we've gotten, so. And they found solutions to move the poles that we thought we couldn't use.
So we might still have the poles there in the middle of the winter.
I get the
existing
feeling we may have double poles for a while,
Yeah.
unless we get Fairpoint to come in. I think CMP's gonna get their work done and get their lines moved over. It's gonna be more Fairpoint. I don't think Time Warner's a problem. It's Fairpoint. So we'll have to see.
No, I don't know anybody there.
We all chainsaws.
No, I'm not saying that. But I know somebody there.
Any other questions for Paul? Thank you, Paul.
Thank you, Paul. Good job, Paul.
Does anybody have any other questions for any department heads that are here tonight?
Oh,
Go ahead.
nice. Chief, how's the new officer working out?
He's doing really well. He should have a couple more weeks, and will be on his own as a reserve. His personality is perfect, more like geared towards, community policing, opposed to a younger police officer who wants to go out there and save the world. He wants to save the world, but kind of in like a positive way.
We saw that, or I saw the thing on Facebook about him playing basketball
Yes,
with some kids and Haley Fleming in full uniform, black uniform, playing basketball. It was really awesome.
in one of the heat,
Yeah.
90 degree.
Yeah. Yep.
Did they win?
I think they let him win.
Yeah, just,
They were younger.
I have one question on your Black Cat
Yes,
traffic data collection.
yes.
Will you have a report for us eventually on that, or do you have anything you'd like to share verbally instead?
But we placed it in several areas. It's always being deployed like once a week. What we did was we initially put it into the major roads like China Road, Benton, Augusta, Cushman, so we could get a basis of what the problem was. And then what we would do is when we had complaints from citizens, we would put it out, do a study, then report back to the citizens who complained, letting them know if there was a problem or when there was a problem. But generally, when we it's usually on the side streets. Like we had a gentleman complaining about Whipple Street, so we put the device out, and there was no issues whatsoever. So I reported back to him. I gave him a copy of the a report, which is that's the reason why we develop a report, and he was very understanding. So overall, it's a great investment.
And so what you're checking is for the speed, average speeds, or
Yes.
those that are going over the speed limit, and how many of them, and the frequency and all that?
Right, what happens is that the Black Cat can do both directions. It will count the number of cars, and what we do is we put it out for about 7 days, and then it will give us a breakdown. And what I will do is I'll send a bunch of other reports to Mike, and then he can forward it to the council. And what it does, it gives, we have a 10-mile-an-hour enforcement variance. So if it's a 25, if it's a 25-mile-an-hour zone, anything over 35 will be a enforceable event. And then what it will do is we'll give you the dates and the times of the weeks. Like we put it out onto the Taylor Road, and we were seeing that from 6 o'clock in the morning until 8 o'clock in the morning, there was a high level of speeders. And generally people cutting across, going to Elcom and stuff like that. Then we also put it out onto and then it will tell you all 7 days. So what we can do is we can tell the patrol guys, go out on the Taylor Road or go out on China Road at 6 o'clock in the morning. I want you to stay out there for about an hour and run traffic, because that's when the highest speeders are, opposed to just guessing. So it really makes it gives us great data.
Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, if you get Robert Street down on that list,
I can put it down there.
please put it down.
Yes. Consider it, I think it's deployed right now.
Pardon me?
I think it's deployed this week.
Okay.
But it will go out on Sunday. 'Cause we,
You need a place to put it.
no, it just puts, it attaches to a telephone pole, you don't even know it's there.
I got a
Get a
great
new
pole
pole
right
right
in front of his house.
But thank you.
I was just curious about the China Road. There's been, there's at least one intersection there seems to have more issues with accidents than others in town.
Yes.
And is there anything we can do about that? Should we have a blinking light put there? Should we lower the speed limit until that
Well, that's
intersection?
that's a state road, so we would have to reach out to.
But we could request it as a town. couldn't we?
Yes, correct. What we're also, actually, Mike and I were talking this morning, is contacting the engineer that in our area, is I'm gonna be requesting rumble strips up China Road. And simply because we've been having some really serious accidents head-on, and it's not alcohol related, it's not substance abuse related, it's just people
Inattention.
not paying attention, crossing the center line and hitting each other head-on at speeds of 50 miles an hour each. And that's really the only thing. I mean, we've been hitting China Road a lot, but we hit it for about a week or so. The public slows it down for about a month, and then they get back up to the speed. So we're gonna try to see if we can ask the state to put rumble strips up China Road. So,
You have those portable ones, right?
no, these are the ones that are dug into the pavement.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's
Center
kind of like it's the center line.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the ones that I have on the interstate.
Okay.
Does that Black Cat, can this distinguish between types of vehicles?
No,
No? Just the speed?
just, yes.
Does it have, can you get an option also to,
On what type of vehicles?
yeah?
Black Hummer, big black
Black
Hummer.
I don't think so, no.
Yeah, I'm just asking.
Yeah. It's a great device, because we're using it weekly, and we're really identifying where our problem areas.
Really appreciate it, Chief, thank you.
Oh, wait,
Go
one
ahead.
more question, sorry. Do you have a problem on Benton Ave, in between like the junior high and the elementary school? Because that's kind of is all of that school zone, or is it kind of broken down into two different sections?
That's a whole school zone from, I think, Danielson to past Tackinac.
Mhm.
There's a little gap in between.
Is it, yeah, and it's,
Anyway, we
but I
could
don't
like
think
fill
we
that
can.
gap?
What, excuse me?
Anyway, we could fill the gap and have it be, I mean, they are really close, and a lot of kids do walk to school and walk in that area. and-
Yeah, is I'll look into that.
What are your thoughts about it? No?
Well, what I'd like to do, is, but it does cost money, is I'd like to have a blinking yellow light.
Mhm.
Some communities have, it's a blinking yellow light, and that's really the only road that we have a major traffic. And if we could have that blinking yellow light, which is set on a timer, which falls, so we don't have to worry about it. Because, having the signs there, it's required, but it's really not efficient.
And hard to enforce if there's a gap in the middle,
Correct.
then, yeah.
Correct.
I'm in Bassboro, the school has charge of setting it.
Yep,
They turn it on and off.
yeah.
Do you have a rough idea of how much it is?
No.
Okay.
Paul, do you have any?
Well, I know the one we just bought from the fire department. We were what, $14,000 for 3 of them,
For 3.
For three?
so 3.
How many would you need out there? One or more than one?
Two from, prior.
Yeah,
And
okay.
two and one, on the other end. So, but let me look in, I'm not even, I'll work with Paul and see if he can help me out with a vendor and get some information. But we hit that road a lot, even when there's no school, we do hit it a lot, and if you travel that day, that point, particularly in the morning, people really slow down. So it's really, so I'd like to have it, but it's a want and a need.
Right, I did see it on the
Yeah.
list, that's why I
Yeah.
asked you about it, so.
It's not a need yet,
Yeah,
it would be a want,
yeah,
but there's a lot of needs.
yeah.
Anybody else have any questions for any department heads? Okay, thank you very much, Chief. Okay, and so we had a motion on the floor and a second to accept all reports of committees and commissions. If there's no further discussion, we'll take a vote. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign, passes. And then we'll move on to unfinished business. Providing for the authorization of the town manager to sign a municipal quitclaim deed that releases the town's interest in a portion of land described on tax map 7, lot 21, to MJJM Realty LLC. This is the second reading. What is your pleasure?
So move.
Second.
There's a move and second. Any discussion on order number 13? If not, we'll have a roll call vote.
Patricia West?
Yes.
Ray Karen?
Yes.
Ben Twitchell?
Yes.
Jerry Kirian?
Yes.
Ken Fletcher?
Yes.
Jeff West?
Yes.
Steve Russell?
Yes. Now we will move on to new business. Ordinance number 10, 2017, an ordinance providing for an amendment to Chapter 3, Article 1, 3-5 of the Winslow Town Code titled Dogs Constituting a Nuisance by adding the underlined and deleting the strike-through language in the attached section. Be it ordained by the Town Council, Town of Winslow, as follows. Whereas the police chief is proposing an amendment to Chapter 3, Article 1, 3-5 to add clarity to the ordinance. Now, therefore, be it ordained by the Town Council, Town of Winslow, Maine, that Chapter 3, Article 1, 3-5 of the Winslow Town Code titled Dogs Constituting a Nuisance be amended by adding the underlined language and deleting the strike-through in the attached section. What is your pleasure?
So move.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded, open for discussion. Go ahead.
Got a question. How are we gonna know what 5 minutes is? Somebody calls PD, by the time they get there, the dog could be stop barking, or somebody has to guess.
That will be up to the complainant. What we will do is we'll do initial, is either one of our patrol officers or the ACOs, or the ACO will go over and speak to the complainant, advise them of the new ordinance, because the reason why I wanted this change is because it was really open-ended, there was no clear cut. And it has been a little bit difficult on dealing with these issues. And what we try to do, what we're always trying to do is limit citing people. We do a lot of mediation. In the last couple mediations, and I actually do them myself. And I always ask the person with the dog, I go, well, what is an excessive amount to you? And most of them say, well, anything over 2 or 3 minutes is pretty excessive. And they're the ones that have the dogs that are always barking. So what I did was I checked with several communities looking to see if they had a more defined ordinance. Some communities had 20 to 30 minutes, which of continuous barking, which to me would drive me nuts. Then I found one that was 10, and Mike and I had a discussion, and we thought, 5 was really reasonable. So what we would do is we would tell that complainant, take your phone, videotape it for 5 minutes, and then we'll take it from there. This just gives us more ammunition that we can go to the dog owner and say, hey, this is the new ordinance. If it's continuing to bark and it's over 5 minutes, which we feel is really reasonable, then you're in violation of the ordinance. It clarifies that a lot more.
Go ahead.
I am happy at the last line that said, does not apply if a dog is provoked, and I wish that woman was here so that we could discuss this, provoked by people passing by, trespassing people, or animals, so I'm happy with that.
Any further comments? Anybody need any other information?
Does this have to go to public hearing?
Yes, we'll have a second reading next month and a public hearing at that time, yeah. All set? Roll call vote then, please.
Jeff West?
Yes.
Jerry Kirian?
Yes.
Ken Fletcher?
Yes.
Ben Twitchell?
Yes.
Patricia West?
Yes.
Ray Karen?
Yes.
Steve Russell?
Yes. Moving on to ordinance 11, 2017.
Mr. Chairman,
Sure.
can we back up a moment
Yep.
to unfinished business?
Oh, you're right, I skipped over one, I apologize. We had a placeholder for a motion to reconsider order number 11, 2017. Is that your question?
Yes.
Okay.
I would like to make a motion that we open that back up for a language change in regards to the bond question.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to reopen order number 11, 2017. Is there any discussion? If not, we will have a roll call vote on.
They're all, yeah, pass
Wait,
it down, sorry.
yeah.
Pass it down.
Oh, I'm sorry. Do we have to have a roll call vote to open it? Plus another motion, put it on the table, or is it on the table?
I think you have to approve
To reopen it first, right? So we have to have a vote to reopen. If there's no further discussion on reopening, we'll have a roll call vote on reopening the motion.
Right now?
I think if no further discussion, we'll go ahead, yeah?
Patricia West?
Yes.
Ray Karen?
No.
Ben Twitchell?
Yes.
Jerry Kirian?
Yes.
Ken Fletcher?
Yes.
Jeff West?
Yes.
Steve Russell?
No. Passes, right? Okay, so now I'll entertain a motion to, how are you gonna do that? Someone's gotta make the motion of how they wanna change that, right?
Yeah, now that it's on the table, if Jeff wishes to make a motion
Yeah.
about amending.
I make a motion, we amend the wording of the bond question to something similar to what is written in front of you.
So the difference is that we are listing the amounts of money being spent on different, is that this first paragraph, is that right? Like, we did not break it down, previous question, we just had a $10 million bond.
Correct.
And so you would like to see
So people know where,
755
so,
for
so
the gym, 2.9 for the art center.
so everybody knows, goes into this educated of what their money is being spent on.
Any discussion? And what, first of all, do we need a motion and a second on that motion?
Yes.
So you've made the motion, we need a second.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. And the motion is to amend order number 11, 2017, to include that first paragraph. Is that,
Correct.
am I saying that correctly? Okay. Okay, let's have some discussion on it then. Go ahead, Trish.
So if we decide to not demo the junior high, then this has to be amended again to remove that amount, or no?
Yeah, if I could, Mr. Chairman, it is my understanding, Mike, and you correct me, because I know you've been in conversation, all of this is worded up to, okay? Up to.
Okay.
So it wouldn't require, if, for example, we didn't demolition the junior high,
That would get backed out.
that would get backed out. So it's really line itemizing the
So
expenditure.
this doesn't necessarily authorize us to spend $10 million, it authorizes us to spend up to $10 million.
That's right.
Which is still the same, that hasn't changed.
That hasn't changed.
It's just broken down so people can look at it, go in educated, say, okay, I know where my money's being spent.
Then, in my opinion, the junior, if we decide not to demo the junior high, that should be taken out. That's $650,000, and,
Right.
you know, we'll reword it.
Well, I think that would be incumbent upon.
No,
us.
I agree with you on that, but I don't think we're gonna know about
Will
the
we
junior
know in
high.
time or no?
No.
Okay.
No, we probably won't, and it'd be
Ken-
incumbent upon us to make it clear that we have, that the wheels are put in motion to
Yeah.
eliminate that,
Okay.
I guess, is what we could do.
Yeah, if I could, Mr. Chairman, I think that the thought here is, it is like any project, you know, that there is a scope of work that we're asking the people of Winslow to pay for, right? So it's just like if you were going to build a house or do anything, that you've got a scope of work so that when people go in to vote, they know what they're approving up to. And why, you know, why I think it's important is because I've had a few conversations with people, and they read the paper at 10.3, and the next logical question is, well, what am I buying?
Right.
Right? And I think it's gonna be very important for the people that go to vote, and really the people in the town, to have confidence that they know what they're being asked to spend.
Because and on Ken's line there, I've spoken to a lot of people, and they think this is just high school.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I think this
True.
makes it
They
clear on
don't,
what
they
we're
don't see
doing.
that part of this money is to do some upgrades to the elementary to accommodate the sixth grade,
And demo the junior high.
and demo the junior high, and so on and so forth.
Raymond, did you want to say something?
I just think that, you know, after discussion here, I think that this is probably a okay idea, but I would hope that people in today's society who really want to involve would go to winslowmaine.gov and look at the agenda item where the Winslow school system, and look at it. It's pretty self-explanatory on winslowmaine.gov. Go to the high school project tab and just look at that and look at what's been done for that project. Also, hopefully, that before too long is that the town, and we can have this discussion later on in the program, would put something on Channel 7, not only about the project, but also about what effect it's gonna have on the mill rate for the town, so that everybody is educated on what exactly does this mean for the town of Winslow, and what are we getting into? And hopefully that'll also be, we'll be able to put that on to the winslowmaine.gov. Go to winslowmaine.gov, please, and take a look at it if you really want to know what's going on, and to keep updated, and we'll update that website, I think, whenever we can. so.
And if you are on Facebook, it is on Facebook. All the videos of the meeting have been on there. You were on that committee about PR and getting the information out there. There is a lot of information, so if you're looking for hard facts, it is out there.
I would, yes, I agree it's out there, but I would caution you that there are a significant number of citizens that will not do either Facebook or winslow.gov, and we have to, and I have some ideas when we get to later in the
Yeah.
meeting for other
I know.
information.
I know.
If you're right, 75% of the people can get it that way, but there's a significant number that won't. And
We
I've
have
talked
a-
to a lot of them in the last week.
Yeah,
so.
we have a comment from, I know you had something to
I
say.
said, what about people who don't have computers or laptops
Yep.
or any of that?
I know,
That's-
I
yeah.
know, yeah,
Yep, that's a
yeah,
significant number
yeah,
of people in town.
that is
And we
important.
will
Your
be getting,
neighbor,
we will be getting information out.
Yeah.
The only question I have, this doesn't quite add up to 10 million, is there other things that are missing?
6.5.
No, it should add up.
Should add up to 10 million. Maybe I'm doing my math wrong, I'm just trying to do it quick. I got 5, and 3 is 8, and 7, and 230, that's another 9, I got over 9 million, but I don't, maybe some of it's for clerk of the works or whatever, or the
No,
contingency?
As-
This adds up to 10, okay.
As far as I know.
I'm not gonna get my calculator, we'll make it add up to 10.
Right.
We'll make it add up to the number if it doesn't, but yes, okay.
I thought for the elementary is only 400,000, I noticed it's 600.
There is work at the elementary, and then there's
Oh.
site work.
See, I missed that, that's what that's the part I was missing, is 650, I apologize.
And there's a little bit of technology and equipment.
Jerry, did you wanna say something?
No, you got it.
Okay, does anybody
And
else?
that young lady over there said exactly what I was.
Yeah, well, yeah, we're gonna have to work on the information, getting out.
Get some information out
Yep,
to the public.
And that's later discussion at the end of the meeting.
Yep.
Any more discussion on this, which is the new order 11/2017 as amended? Am I saying that correctly? This amends that order that we passed last month, correct? Okay, so this is the amendment. We all set? Okay, we'll have a roll call vote.
Patricia West?
Yes.
Ray Karen?
Yes.
Ben Twitchell?
Yes.
Jerry Kirian?
Yes.
Ken Fletcher?
Yes.
Jeff West?
Yes.
Steve Russell?
Yes. Thank you for reminding me about that last item. Yeah. Okay, now we can move on to ordinance 11/2017. Providing for revisions to chapter 13, article 3 of the Winslow Town Code titled Miscellaneous Vehicle and Traffic Restrictions by adding the attached 13 through 17, no truck traffic. Be it ordained by the Town Council of the Town of Winslow as follows. Whereas the town is granted authority under Title 30A MRSA 3009 to enact ordinances regulating traffic to promote the general welfare and safety of the citizens or any other individuals using the streets of the town. And whereas the allowance of truck traffic on certain town-owned streets has raised serious and immediate concerns. Now therefore be it ordained by the Town Council of the Town of Winslow, Maine, that Chapter 13, Article 3 of the Winslow Town Code, titled Miscellaneous Vehicle and Traffic Restrictions, be amended by adding the attached 13 through 17, no truck traffic. Give you the pleasure of making the motion, Ben.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Moved and seconded, open for discussion.
Want me to discuss it?
Yes, if you wanna, you're the one that,
Well, I had a couple of complaints of truck traffic coming from the China Road. Because the only street that comes from the China Road down to Route 201, taking right down Payne Street, right down Clifford, right down to 201 at the foot of the hill. And there's a lot of kids on those two streets. And this here was still, if you look at the back of it, it still allow, like pickup trucks, four-wheel drive van, town and state vehicles, stuff like that. But it would stop the heavy traffic such as tractor trailer trucks,
dump truck.
yep, stuff, unless there's something being done on that road.
So you're saying there's a viable alternative route that they don't need to go through
Yeah,
that
they can go
neighborhood?
right out and hit the new road right across.
Right.
then come
No need
either
to
way.
go through a residential neighborhood with a
Exactly,
construction vehicle.
this is
with a
going
dump.
through a residential neighborhood. We talked, we had the problem a couple of years ago, and I talked to you, Mike, and someone went out, I don't know whether it was, remember who went out and talked to a couple of particular businesses about stopping that run down through. It didn't, slacked off a while, but now it's right there.
Okay. Thank you, Ben. Raymond.
To maybe the Public Works Director, through the chair. And you too, Ben, if you know, is it a size of truck? Is it a weight limit on the truck, or how would we, what would be the size of the truck that we would prevent? I know it says tractor trailer truck,
Well,
and I read the
I said
back.
tractor trailer truck, but you know, any, you know, dump trucks, anything like that. and
Commercial
any-
vehicle that's not there for business.
Exactly. Because there's, I don't know if I wanna say the particular business.
Probably better not, but.
Yeah, 3 different businesses up there do a lot of travel from right
Yeah.
up there, all the way down to it.
And how would we regulate that, and how would we enforce it after?
But that would be for,
I guess at this point, that would.
that would be.
Yeah,
But chief,
Wouldn't that have to be a
you wanna-
DPW thing?
I'll be honest, I'm a street cop, I'm not a DOT trooper, I can get the information. I made it a point never to stop a tractor trailer, because they would give you logbooks, and what am I gonna do with this? Sorry.
Mr. Chairman, if I may?
Go ahead.
Yeah, this ordinance, Chief, doesn't break it down as far as the weight class.
Yeah.
Doesn't identify tractor trailer. It's basically any truck that's not a pickup truck, that's not a four-wheel van, that's not a state or municipal vehicle, or that's a truck that's not providing a service to the local residents. So you wouldn't need to worry about, for example, the weight classification of the truck.
Okay.
I just figured if we get signs, you know, they'll see those signs and they'll get used to not running the truck down through, and they'll go out around just like that. When they first put that new road in, my understanding was that, that would take a lot of the heavy traffic, because our side streets are not built for a lot of the through traffic with large trucks. And, that road there was.
I think it's this one company that's causing the issues.
So they're viewing that as a shortcut, and instead of taking the logical way, they're cutting through a
Yeah.
residential neighborhood that probably shouldn't have that kind of traffic.
But see, those are the only 2 streets that hit each other, the whole length of that from China Road up to the new road.
I could ask the local, state trooper, I mean, go ahead and vote on this ordinance, but I would reach out to, the trooper that lives in Winslow, who also works for the, motor vehicle, enforcement division, and ask him if there's any DOT or if there's any state regulations, regarding those side streets. And if he could assist us, with that information, I can do that tomorrow, and I can get back tonight with that.
Because
if
we'll
that's
have to
helpful.
have a second reading on this also, so we can make changes if we recommended changes, unless you wanted to consider this an emergency and you wanted a second
Well,
reading tonight.
no, as long as I get it in motion.
Yep.
My main concern.
Yep.
And I can notify the people that came to me that we're working on, like this one.
Yep, and maybe we can notify the 1 or 2 businesses too, that this is in the works, and
You know, because it's gonna cost some money for signage, and that's why I had to bring it.
Jerry,
What do we consider a pickup truck?
anything at 1 ton or less.
1 ton or less.
That's what I would call it, that'd be a simple one.
You got to be clear enough.
If it's bigger than a 1 ton truck, and it's not stopping for it's not a local vendor stopping, then I would assume anything bigger than a 1 ton with dual wheels is not gonna be going down there.
You know,
That's just a
because,
guess. Go ahead.
Chairman, I think I've seen signs before, and I can't remember where I've seen them, that says no through truck traffic.
Yeah, right. And
No
that's what it
commercial
should be.
through
No
truck traffic.
commercial through traffic,
Right,
yeah,
Right?
yeah.
No, I don't know where I've seen that, but I've seen it.
Yeah.
So
that's
that
right,
street does not have that sign.
No, it will
Neither one
after
of
this.
How much does that sign cost? Not a lot.
We'll fill it up, yeah.
Maybe
Then
make
we'll
it plated in
Then
gold.
we'll paint it
Yeah.
up.
Hey, whatever.
The other question I have
Yeah.
is how are we gonna enforce this if we don't know? We don't know how,
I think the two local businesses that are using it will stop using it once the sign goes up. I have that feeling, but maybe not.
I think we could go to those, reach out to those things and ask their drivers not to, right? I mean,
Well, you've done this before,
We
but
have.
this here, by putting the signs out, that would.
oh, I
enforce.
agree with you
Yes,
100%, Ben,
yes,
that the
yes.
sign should go up, but also saying,
Yeah.
going out, reaching out to the
Yep.
businesses
Think
again
so,
and
too.
saying, hey, this is our expectations for through traffic.
I think that's
Or you'll be
reasonable,
fined.
especially where it's not like we're asking them to go out of their way.
Oh.
They're just trying to avoid probably the light at the end of
Right.
the China Road.
Mike, can you do that?
Yes,
Can you do that with the
I
people?
think Paul has already done that, but we'll do it again.
Okay.
Any further discussion on ordinance number 11? We're all set, we'll have a roll call vote.
Ben Twitchell?
Yeah.
Ray Karen?
Yes.
Patricia West?
Yes.
Jeff West?
No.
Jerry Kurian?
no,
Ken Fletcher?
Yes,
Steve Wessel?
Yes. And to let people know, there will be a public hearing next month, and if you're opposed to that, you're welcome to come and say why. We will now move on to ordinance number 12, 2017, ordinance providing for revisions to chapter 9 of the Winslow Town Code titled Parks and Recreation by adding the attached Article 3, 9 through 12, smoking prohibited, be ordained by the Town Council of Town Winslow as follows. Whereas numerous studies have found that breathing secondhand smoke, also known as environmental tobacco smoke, is a cause of disease in healthy non-smokers, including heart disease, stroke, respiratory disease, and lung cancer. And whereas the Parks and Rec Director would like to create a smoke-free parks and recreational area, now therefore be it ordained by the Town Council of the Town of Winslow, Maine, that Chapter 9 of the Winslow Town Code titled Parks and Recreation be amended by adding the attached Article 3, 9 through 12, smoking prohibited.
So moved.
Been moved,
Second.
moved and seconded. Any discussion? Go ahead.
I would like to add to what Mr. Price said about vaping. I'm not up to this cool lingo thing. Vaping, e-cigarettes, right? Is that what? Does that cause a health concern for people that are breathing it in, like tobacco? I thought it just caused the person to have popcorn lung, but not everybody else, right?
That's what my understanding was.
I don't know the science behind the vapes.
I've read
Yeah.
that is an unknown,
Mm-hmm.
it's an unknown. Because there really hasn't been a lot of research or something. Now, that's only probably 1 or 2 articles, I'm
Yeah.
certainly
Yeah.
can't say absolutely.
Can I ask Kyle a question?
Sure.
Have you seen a lot of people vaping and using e-cigarettes and stuff? Oh, Amanda? Okay.
Amanda?
Yeah?
So,
Yeah, go up to the microphone.
I have seen people vaping a lot,
Mhm.
and I feel like, I'm not sure on the health. I'm not up on the
Mhm.
e-cigarettes either, but I don't feel like it's a good tone for a playground either way. Either way, it's not good for the person doing it. I just don't think it has any business being at the playground. So, I did put in there, in carrying or having anyone's possession any lit cigar, cigarette, or any combustible substance. I'm not even sure if that's combustible or not. I know nothing about it, so I don't know if we do have to specify in there and add that part.
Yeah.
But in, going from the concerns of last month, which is a very valid concern, the signs are up, but there's not much we can do to enforce it without an ordinance.
Mm-hmm.
So if someone would like to make a
Yeah.
amendment
Well,
to
I
include
think it is a
vaping.
combustible.
I've seen people like have it blow up in their
Because-
face or something like that.
They have batteries and
Yeah.
they have heat.
All that does is generate the steam, the fake stuff.
Go ahead and make
Some
your
that
motion.
I-
If you'd like to make an amendment
Yes,
to
I'd
this
like
motion.
to make a motion to amend this to include e-cigarettes,
Vaping or
vaping,
whatever.
I'm not up on the cool lingo, I'm not vaping, e-cigarettes, and, is that it?
I think that's it. I think I've got everything else
Vaping,
covered in here.
e-cigarettes, right?
Are
Okay.
we missing anything, Tom?
I'm not an expert, and I would agree with what Amanda's already said, it's more about, I mean, you still have to be of age
Right.
to be able to have that stuff.
Oh, that's true, yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's a nicotine base, however it is that it's coming out. And since I'm talking, if you're allowing me, I saw a recent article that there's a high percentage of teens that have reported that they have used e-cigarettes, and
I agree with the e-cigarettes, but the vaping, they can just, like, I've got a son that uses one of those, and he just has the fluid with no nicotine in it, just to have that flavor to it, and instead of smoking. Okay, you can buy all these different concoctions, peppermint and cotton candy, to have a taste in your mouth, and without any.
Just one quick point of order before we go much further. Can we have a second on her proposed amendment?
I'll second it.
Okay, now we can have a discussion. I apologize.
No, it's fine.
Okay.
But I said my piece. But not necessarily nicotine vapes. The vape, the e-cigarettes, yes, they are.
I hate to bring up another issue. Oh, go ahead, Raymond.
I think we all need to do maybe a little research on this particular subject. I would make a motion at this point in time that we table this, and then maybe we could research it and send through Mike, some of the literature that we have, and table it for now, and then bring it up at the next meeting. I mean, that's what I would recommend.
There's
but-
one, yeah. So since he recommended, we probably have to vote on tabling it, correct, before we go any further?
Yeah, he would have to get a second.
We'll have to get a second on the table. Okay, second on the table. So do we want to discuss the
Point of
table?
order.
Go ahead.
You can't have two amendments.
This is a tabling motion.
This is an amendment. This is,
Yeah, but are we tabling her motion or amendment? Or are we tabling the whole thing?
Oh, thank you.
Whole thing, so we still gotta vote on hers.
But, if I could, Mr. Chairman, I didn't read my Robert Rules of Order, but I think that the motion to table is, first of all, it's not debatable, right? And
no
then it's an up
discussion
and
on it.
down and vote.
we just vote on it.
Right, and I think that if you table it, you're tabling the whole topic. I think. I could be wrong.
My only interjection would be that this does require a second reading, and I don't know if we could get that information that would be necessary prior to the next meeting or not. And we could do it, that way we'd have one
try it.
reading out of the way.
I'll try it,
Because
let you
in 3 months, if we table it, it takes 2 readings. In 3 months, there won't be very many,
And then winter will be here.
winter will be here, and there won't be very many kids on the basketball
And then
courts.
2018, just kidding.
I'm just to throw that out, but we have a motion to table. We'll consider that now before we go any further, with no discussion. So, all in favor of tabling ordinance, let me get this right, ordinance number 12? Yes. All in favor, have to have a roll call vote on tabling ordinance number 12. Yes, I think that's right, yep.
Ken Fletcher,
No,
Jeff West,
No.
Jerry Kurian,
No,
Patricia West.
Sorry. I know I'm somewhat new. Voting to table it or not to table it?
This is the vote, yes vote is tabling it.
Okay, yes.
Ben Twitchell?
Yes.
Ray Karen?
No.
Steve Russell?
No. So it's back on the table. We now discuss her amendment. And I'm wondering if we could amend the amendment to include smokeless tobacco. Does that make sense? That's not mentioned here, I don't think.
Chew?
So
Chew and snuff and chewing tobacco. Does that make sense, or do you guys want that at the playgrounds? That's up to you. It'd be a friendly amendment to your amendment.
Basically, any tobacco product.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it doesn't read that way. It says smoking needs, and it goes on to define smoking. It does not say anything about smokeless. And I don't know if that's important to you guys, if you don't.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, Mike, how is it worded for town property?
Basically, we just said no smoking. There's not a lot of detail.
I didn't know if there are any town policy for town employees.
No.
Okay.
So it's up to you to accept my friendly amendment to your amendment. Do you want to include smokeless?
Smokeless. Okay, yeah.
And the second to her motion was Raymond?
I don't mind seconding it.
Okay.
I just
wanna make
wanted
sure.
to
So
discuss
it's gonna
it more.
include vaping and it's gonna include smoking along with all cigarettes.
But this thing, and the definition is any lit cigar, cigarette, pipe, weed, plant, or other combustible substance or form.
Right.
That there doesn't include these other things, so it's gonna have totally be changed, if this is what you wanna do.
No, the amendment is, her proposed amendment is to include the vaping and the e-cigarettes. And my friendly amendment is to also include smokeless tobacco. So those would be written into that line, those three things.
And if this passes, then we can do
And then
the
we have,
second reading and make an amendment at that point.
yes, and if we pass this tonight, we'll have the
After we
public
do the
hearing.
research.
We'll have a public hearing and research for the next month
Oh,
and be able to answer more
Okay,
questions
should've
next
voted
month.
no the first
See, we
time.
just helped you
Raymond,
out.
go
I
ahead.
know. I
We're
should've
definitely
voted
not
first
inventing a new thing here.
That's right.
There must be, every town must have some type of ordinance for playgrounds. If Mike could get a few of the sample ordinances around and maybe email them to us, that would be great, since I'm so good at getting work for you that I would figured I'd just continue.
have that.
You have that? Mandy, could you send them to us?
Yeah.
Okay, great,
And ironically, Waterville is redoing theirs too, to include some of the e-cigarettes and stuff.
yeah.
But I can't, I have the local towns, and I'll just email them to you.
Oh, that'd be great.
Thank
Yep,
you.
that'd be great.
My
Super.
name's on the list.
I'll find something else. Don't worry.
Okay, is there any further discussion to the amendment
And the friendly amendment.
and the friendly amendment? Tacked on. Okay, we'll have a roll call vote on the amendment.
Ken Fletcher,
Yes.
Jeff West,
Yes.
Jerry Kurian,
Yes.
Tricia West.
Yes.
Ben Twitchell,
Yeah,
Ray Karen.
Yes.
Steve Russell.
Yes. Now, the motion on the table that has been amended is up for discussion. Do we need any further discussion? Are we all set with ordinance 12, 2017 now, as amended? We're ready to go, we'll have a roll call vote.
Ken Fletcher.
Yes.
Jeff West,
Yes.
Jerry Kurian,
Yeah.
Tricia West,
Yes.
Ben Twitchell.
Yes.
Ray Karen.
Yes.
Steve Russell.
Yes. We will now move on to order number 14, 2017. The order providing for the authorization of the police chief and the town manager to sign the attached police mutual aid agreement with the city of Waterville and the towns of Oakland, Fairfield, and Clinton. Be it ordered by the town council of the town of Winslow as follows, whereas MRSA Title 30A, Section 2674 authorizes cities and towns to form mutual aid agreements, and whereas the attached mutual aid agreement has been drafted, now therefore be it ordered that the police chief and the town manager are hereby authorized to sign the attached police mutual aid agreement with the city of Waterville and the towns of Oakland, Fairfield, and Clinton.
So moved.
There's a move and seconded. Any discussion?
Yep.
Go ahead, Jay.
Question I have is, don't we have a, mutual aid agreement yet? And we have to be willing,
We do have there's a state statute for emergency operations, there is a mutual aid agreement. If there is like structure fire, or if there's a big brawl in Waterville or Winslow, and it's an ongoing emergency type of situation, that's covered under the statute that we equally support each other. This is simply for, we sometimes, Waterville sometimes utilizes our services for paid details. They have what's called hospital details when there's a psych patient that needs to have a law enforcement officer present, and they have nobody that they can offer the detail to. That allows us to go over there. We get reimbursed by the city of Winslow. When we were doing Bay Street and Benton Ave with the construction, with the light projects, there were a couple days that we didn't have enough officers, so we contacted Waterville and see if any of their offices wanted to work those details, and then they would be reimbursed. So this is for non-emergency operations type events.
Any further questions?
It just looks like the wording says that there's a Winslow police cruiser, goes over to Waterville. The Winslow police cruiser gets into an accident. The town of Winslow is still responsible for any injury or the damage to the vehicle, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
We all set? This is an order, right?
Yep.
That's a roll call still, right? Okay, so we'll have a roll call vote if nobody has any further questions.
Ken Fletcher?
Yes.
Jerry Kurian?
Yes.
Jeff West?
Yes.
Ben Twitchell?
Yes.
Ray Karen?
Yes.
Patricia West?
Yes.
Steve Russell?
Yes. Now move on to order number 15, 2017. An order providing for the acceptance of a labor contract between Council number 93 AFSCME AFL-CIO Winslow Fire and Public Works Employees and the Town of Winslow. Be it ordered by the Town Council of the Town of Winslow as follows. Whereas the Town of Winslow, through its town manager, has negotiated a labor contract for the Winslow Fire and Public Works Departments as attached hereto, and whereas the Town Council recognizes its responsibility to provide a fair and equitable labor agreement for its fire and public works personnel, and whereas both the Town Manager and Council number 93 AFSCME AFL-CIO has reached an agreement, therefore now be it ordered that the attached labor agreement is adopted by the Town Council effective July 1st, 2017, and remains in effect until June 30th, 2020.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, open for discussion. You guys have all had a chance to read it, I assume. Most of it's the same, except for as the proposed raises. Any discussion? We all set? Okay, we'll have a roll call vote.
Patricia West?
Yes.
Ray Karen?
Yes.
Ben Twitchell?
Yes.
Jerry Kurian?
Yes.
Ken Fletcher?
Yes.
Jeff West?
Yes.
Steve Russell?
Yes. We will now move on to order number 16, 2017. An order providing for the sale of tax-acquired property, be it ordained by the Town Council of the Town of Winslow as follows. Whereas the Town of Winslow has acquired the properties described in the attached list, and has determined that the town has no use for such properties, and whereas the town manager will be listing the properties with a local realtor, now therefore be it ordered by the Town Council, the town manager is hereby authorized to negotiate and sell the tax-acquired property as described in the attached list through the listing realtor and to issue quick claim deeds for the properties.
So moved.
Moved and seconded.
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Go ahead.
16 Marcoux Street is vacant, and I've been working with a company. We've managed to clean the properties out. I did have to have it treated for fleas. It was infested with fleas. And 12 Marcoux should be vacant on or about the 17th. And so once that happens, I'd like to work with a realtor to put both parcels up for sale.
Go ahead.
Do you have a realtor in mind?
Yes.
Okay.
Adrian.
Yeah.
Any other questions or discussion? You all set? Doing this roll call vote, too? Okay, go ahead with the roll call.
Jeff West?
Yes.
Jerry Kurian?
Yes.
Ken Fletcher?
Yes.
Ben Twitchell?
Yes.
Patricia West?
Yes.
Ray Karen?
Yes.
Steve Russell?
Yes. Moving on to resolution number 31, 2017, a resolution providing for application for a restaurant class 1, 2, 3, 4 liquor license by Celeste and Stan LaPointe doing business as the Point After 252 China Road. Be it resolved by Town Council, Town of Winslow as follows. The application for a restaurant class 1, 2, 3, 4 liquor license for Celeste and Stan LaPointe doing business as the Point After 252 China Road be approved pursuant to Title 28A, Section 2, Subsection 3, Sections 161 and 161A, and Section 601, Subsection 1 of the MRSA as amended.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? We all set? If all in favor, please raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. That concludes.
Can still go there now.
That concludes the regularly scheduled business, and we will now move on to items for discussion. Review of the school bond finance question.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I had shared with the council some borrowing or bonding options, really just for an example, just to give you a sense of that we do have some flexibility in regards to the borrowing. For example, we could push at least the principal payments off to as far as 5 years if you wish, or less. And we can arrange it so that lower payments are at the front end of the bond borrowing, and the higher payments are at the back end of the borrowing.
And that's the opposite of what we typically bond now, right? The
Correct.
payments generally get smaller as we move along.
Correct.
But the current high school bond must have been done that way, correct?
I would have to guess that it was.
Because those payments continue to get bigger.
Right. Right.
So basically what that would do is allow some of the debt service to be paid off before the larger amount.
That would be the theory.
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
and of course, that we were trying to look at ways of
Lessen the
not
impact.
impacting
Right.
Yeah.
the property tax. And those four options, I'll call it the regular way, which is, you just do it straight. We will end up paying $3,347,000 in interest,
And that's a 20-year bond.
20-year bond.
Okay.
And of course, that's assuming a certain percentage interest rate. If we deferred it, and I'll call it option 2, and not make the principal payments, if I understand it, actually we'll end up paying $460,000 more in interest.
About $500,000 or a little
About
more.
$500,000.
Okay. I'm gonna
And
put
when
that-
I looked at it and just said, okay, let's just look at the first full year with the traditional payments with no deferrals, the mill impact rate could be 1.26. But then by year 11, because the payments are going down, it drops down to 1. Okay?
Okay.
And then by the time you get to the end of the 20, it's actually less than a mill impact.
Right, because the
So
payments become so
principally-
small.
Right,
Yeah.
principally what happens is, because if we do it with no deferrals, yes, we're gonna impact the mill rate, but we will actually not be spending $460,000 in interest. And then if you go to the 20-year structured with deferrals and the 25, that continues to increase the interest rate. The 20-year deferred brings it up to $690,000 in additional interest, and then the 25-year deferred is $1,418,000. So it's really gonna come back to, in my mind, if we deferred it, and I just looked at the first one, for the first, I think we said 5 years or 4 years. Yes, the mill impact rate is 0.48 the first year, then by year 6, it jumps up to 1.40 again. So principally what we're doing,
Is delaying that.
delaying it, but it's the same impact, and actually it's more because the interest rate's more.
About $500,000 more over the
Right.
life of the bond. But at the end of that 5-year period, haven't we retired some other bonds?
The 2015 bond, we retire that in October of 2020. And that's about $140,000 a year in the debt service. The town garage is retired in October of 2022. So we essentially will have avoided, if you think of it one way, we will have avoided about a 0.8 mil impact that first year,
Yes, okay.
right?
Yeah.
Just the first year, Ken? I'm
Well,
sorry.
the
Yeah,
first 2 or 3 years.
2 or 3 years,
Right,
right.
as long as you defer it. So I think the value judgment's gonna have to be, not knowing exactly what everything shapes out to be, how we gonna spend $460,000 more in interest to mitigate
The
that.
immediate impact.
The immediate impact,
And the school bond isn't done for another 10 years.
10 years, October of 2026.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Guess I did not
That's the
realize
school
that.
bond. It's what, $10 million, something like that? Well, it's 4 left, isn't it?
Four, I think, in it, Mike. 4 left on the school bond, or 3 or 4,
Right.
3.5, something like that.
Yeah.
So this bond is bringing up to around $15 million for the school.
Yeah, but that was just an illustration, just to show you what's possible. So if we get to that point where we have a discussion about, how we want to borrow, We do have some flexibility. There's a cost to everything.
There's a cost to everything, there's no free lunch,
That's right.
that's for sure.
Exactly.
And,
Yeah.
and if you look at that three, the regular bird is $3,347,000, and that equates to just about $1 million a year on the average.
So I'm trying to get this straight in my head, the cheapest option as far as interest is to go with a 20-year bond with no deferred.
That's right.
And that's $3 million, round figures in interest.
3.34.
But that also has the largest immediate impact on the mill rate.
The first
That
3 or 4 years. Yep, the first 3 or 4 years, actually, the first year it jumps up to 1.26, then it drops down, so by year 10, it's down to 1.
Okay. What is the interest on a 30-year note? Did you have that number? If we went to a 30-year? That was like 5 million, wasn't it? It wasn't quite
Yeah.
double, right?
Yeah, it was about 5 million, I think.
For interest, yeah.
Yeah.
For interest, right.
So, I think that we've got, that the good news is that we do have a couple months to think about it, right? I think one of the other things that could be appropriate is if, not that I want to start the budget process in October, but we could also look at the bigger economic picture. And if we decided to liquidate certain assets, if that was the way it turned out, that's a way we could minimize that mill rate impact, at least in the short term. I'm not saying that's a good idea or a bad idea. I'm just saying that, we'd almost have to get all the accounts, look at them, and decide what we want to do.
Yeah, I guess that discussion would take place after the vote, is that right? We would then decide what we wanted for an option.
Right.
And what would be the best option, whether or not that passes or fails.
Yep.
Raymond?
To do the lower interest rates up front would give us some time to look at the assets and to make decisions on those assets also, if we had to.
Yeah, but we aren't making a lower interest.
Not the lower, I'm not sorry, but the lower payment, the
Yes,
lower
yes.
initial payment
Start.
up front, to look at the assets to see if we can,
But
The
but-
smaller, essentially, the
yeah,
smaller the payment, the less the impact on a year-to-year mill rate, but the more we pay in the final cost when we get all done.
at the end of the day, the taxpayer is gonna spend more money.
More money.
Right? And that first payment, actually, the first payment is theoretically due April 1st of 2019, and that's really a $257,000. The next big one is in April 1st of 2020, and that's the one that jumps to $816,000. So between now and, I don't know, the end of the year, after we see what the vote is and everything, I would think that what we're gonna do is just
Have a workshop and
have a workshop and work all
figure
through
out
it.
how we want to structure the
I
thing.
don't, you had,
No, go ahead.
you were saying that if we went with the regular bond, with our payments up front, that would equate to
2.6.
1.26.
2.6. That first full, I call it
The
the
biggest
first full
payment,
payment. Year 1 or year 2, is 1.26 mill rate.
Does that include the estimated savings? Is that the overall impact, or you would back out the estimated savings?
Right. That-
So it might be 0.8 instead of 1.2.
Which is that whole other discussion.
Right, yeah.
If we really had operating savings
Right.
in that school budget, that would be a deduct from the total
From the
property
total,
tax.
yeah, okay.
Now, how about the mill rate? And I don't think we can think about this too much. For regular operating budget for the town itself,
In 2020,
right?
and we know we can count on this, the legislature is supposed to take municipal revenue share. What's on the laws right now? the books, is in 2020, the municipal revenue sharing goes back to 5%. So that would be 500,000 right there, which is a little less than $1 million.
Yes, that's right. So that'd be the job of
But-
people investing, whether or not that ever happens.
Whether that happens,
Well, I was gonna say, we can't.
Can't
count on
bank
that.
on
Can't
that.
count on it.
It would be a bonus if it happens, no
Right.
question.
So what you're looking at is basically, we, without going back to 5% on municipal revenue sharing, we could have about what for a mill rate increase?
A little over one, or a little, right around one, let's call it one.
One plus. And then, of course, it really depends on how much growth we actually get,
Always is.
right?
And how much we get reimbursed for homestead exemption, and then
Right.
keep changing that.
Well, that's supposed to go up,
So 62%, right?
right, which is 85,000.
Yep.
About.
State aid to education's gonna go up, it's supposed to go up.
Supposed to go up, right, right. So probably worst case scenario, it's at least $1 million.
At least $1
That would be the worst case scenario. Best case scenario would be less than that if they start increasing
Right.
some of those other things. And if we realize real savings
Yeah.
from the consolidation.
Mike, when do we have to make the bonding decision? How does that work?
Well, I guess it all depends on the construction schedule. So the last one we just did, we started that in May,
Okay,
and,
Had the
for
money in
payment
June.
in July,
okay,
so that took about 3
3
months.
months.
So we gotta have at least 2 months anyway for the council reading the order.
Right,
And then there's a grace period because of the charter, think of about another 30 days, so that's
Okay.
when we came up with the
so
3 months.
no later than January.
No
February.
earlier, no earlier than January.
Well, no, okay, but November, December, and in January. In January, by the end of January, we gotta be making a decision.
Well, that would depend on when the construction would be,
Okay,
when the money's needed. So if the construction starts, at the end of the school year,
okay,
next year, so, you know, they probably want the construction money in June.
okay,
So if we backed it up no later, if we backed it up 3 months, and said no later than
April,
April.
April, May.
Something
Okay.
like that, yeah, yeah.
But that's all depending on what happens in November.
Right,
Right.
The whole
so we can postpone that discussion until after the vote, but the other discussion is, how do we plan on getting the voter information out? I think that's what we have to settle tonight, because we've got 2 months to the election, correct?
Yep.
And so, voter information plan related to school referendum. And so the two things that have been brought up so far is Facebook, the social media, and the television. Those are the two options so far that have been brought up, which we realize that some of the social media will not be available to some of our citizens, for sure.
Public meetings.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say, one of my conversations I had this past week with a person was, they remembered the last bond, and they had a public meeting.
Okay.
I believe, I think it was at the middle school, and she said, I can remember they had the school board members up there, they had the town council members up there, and they each did a presentation, and then they took questions from the audience, and she thought that was, she walked
Okay.
out of there very well informed, she said. And so that might be, I don't know if we need more than one,
This year?
We might,
That's what we're doing right now.
might
you
want
know,
to.
that way we would get
I
more
think if
people.
we do maybe that would be televised, maybe that's the one that would be televised.
We could take that
We
one.
could
and
take
run-
that and have that available.
So we should do maybe one this month and one in October?
I would say 2 in October. You do it now, and it's not gonna last. You need to wait just before it, because people aren't.
Honestly, we should have two, like a Tuesday night and a Wednesday night,
Right, yeah,
especially, I mean, I
so one
know,
beginning October, one towards the end.
Yeah. I think October would be the smartest, because just before the referendum, get the word out to as many people as we can.
And put it out in the paper. Because a lot of elderly get it.
Since we're having discussion, what would people think about like a mailing? That, you know, we're talking that some people maybe have satellite, some people don't have this, but like getting together and saying, here is like even the referendum question, putting the referendum question on, and then have a section on justification, and then have have a section
Cost
on
breakdown.
mill rate, and get together maybe with a group of people for mailing, maybe a representative from the council, a representative from the building committee, and Mike, and sit down and say, hey, we want to do a mailing. What do you think about a mailing, if you got a mailing about the thing?
Well, I'll tell you, I would look at it, but I can guarantee you, a lot of people will just take it and throw it in the trash.
Yeah.
So with a public,
Money wasted.
with a public meeting, people could go to and
Yes.
ask what. Yeah.
Like tonight, I was hoping they would talk about the school, but it didn't happen.
Yeah.
Well, we're having a discussion right now. If you'd like to say anything, you're more than welcome
Yeah.
to.
About the school,
Anything, yep. Go ahead.
my name is Gay Mayo, I live at 8 Robert Street. I've put 5 children through the school system. I'm on social security, and we've lived in Winslow for 56 years. Paid our taxes every year. And as far as what they want to do with the school, with this art center that they want to put in, I am dead set against it. Want is not need. I want a lot of things, but I can't have them. I have to budget myself. If the school wants to have an art center, let the people who want it, let them raise the money themselves. You already have an art center. We don't need another one. The money that you're going to spend on this art center, as far as I'm concerned, could better be used for educational things like better books, better technical books that the kids need to go to college and things like that. Another art center is not going to do any good. The population for students is dwindling down. 2 years from now, the school population is going to be down. You're going to have an art center that's not going to be of any value to anybody. And you already have one anyways. And if you want to go to a different school like Messalonsky, Thomas College, Kobe College, they'll rent you one of their places. It's going to be a heck of a lot cheaper than building I'm sorry, but that's how I feel.
Thank you, we appreciate that. What I would like to know is, for us to get the information out to the citizens, do you agree that the public meeting type of a format is a good one?
Yes, the public has to come and speak.
Okay. Thank you,
Have to be heard vocally.
thank you.
Can I ask Kyle a question?
Yep.
Kyle, just like part of our meeting today, I have a question for you. In regards to getting information out to parents, I know you guys don't do a lot of mailings, you don't give anything to the kids to bring home, it's a lot of email, right? Oh,
I think it's a combination of things. I mean,
Okay.
We have a monthly newsletter, but one of the tools that we've used, I think, pretty successfully is a thing called School Messenger.
Mm-hmm.
And that allows us to make a phone call, send an email, and send a text message to all of our parents.
Okay, maybe that's another way to get the public meeting out
Just tell them how much it's going to cost for that art center.
to the parents.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what we approved tonight, was to enumerate what every section costs, and that is included in the amendment we made tonight. Am I accurate when I say that? That's what we did, right?
that's,
Yep.
Yeah, so maybe utilizing that tool to let them know when the public meeting is.
The newspaper.
Those are people that are
and
gonna be really
Social media, the
effective.
newspaper,
Yeah.
everything we can.
Yeah.
The only other question is when do we have the meetings,
Right.
to in October?
To let Mrs. May know, I stopped at the Waterville Opera House. They'd be willing to rent their place because it's a school for $4,000 a week for as long as they wanted it.
we have another public comment out back?
Yes.
I've been involved in this since the beginning, and one option that hasn't been brought up, we had the mayor of Waterville come here and offer his school system to us. We wouldn't have to build a school, it's already there. Why aren't we talking about that option?
I think depending on the outcome of the referendum this fall, that will probably be on the table.
Well, why don't we put it on the referendum so people know about it? It's been kept real secret.
It hasn't though. Can I respond? I'm on the building committee, I've been to every single meeting from the very beginning. The first meeting that we had with the superintendents and the school and everything, we did talk about combining with Waterville. We did talk about combining forces and like reinventing a new town, reinventing whatever, Black Raider, Purple Panther, whatever. And, that was shot down from the very beginning. So we didn't not talk about it, but we did bring it up and it just wasn't a welcome option, unfortunately, at that time. But,
I think that depending on the outcome of a referendum, everything would be on the table after
oh,
that.
yeah, no, I'm not saying it's completely
Going
off.
back for a smaller
Yeah,
option
yeah.
and removing
Yeah.
things and stuff like that. I think everything's on the table depending on the outcome.
The, Winslow and Waterville had a really hard time combining ice hockey teams.
No, they
Like,
didn't.
in the beginning, they did. They are combined now. But
They did
from
not.
what I heard, I had a lot of parents saying that they didn't want to be combined. So I think part of it is administration and part of it is parents.
We're combined fire station, we're
Right.
talking about combining police stations, why not the school system?
Right. Are we
I
combining
think
that?
that's,
Okay.
I think it's all on the table.
Yeah,
As we
definitely.
as we face increasing costs to run the town,
Yeah.
everything and anything is open for discussion, and the citizens have to speak and tell us what they want. I can remember we had a meeting here about regionalization on the fire department, and it was pretty vocal that they didn't wanna do it at that time, but that was, what, 12 years ago?
Yeah, a
Or-
long
It was
time
quite a
ago.
while
Yeah.
ago. And I think the attitudes have changed a little bit now.
But one of the things is, you said it, attitudes change, but you wait a year or two and they change again.
Yep.
It depends on
People
the
get their
economics.
People get their tax bills,
Yeah.
and they will let us know.
Yeah. Then we'll know. in
When do
November.
absentee ballots go out, Pam? When can people start voting absentee?
30 days before. the
30
election.
days, so that would be October 6th or something like that.
So just about a month, not quite a month,
Yeah.
3 weeks.
So before that, we should at least have some communication or some access before that early balloting.
Before the end of September.
Right.
Maybe what we can do is, put together a fact sheet and hand it out to anybody that comes in to grab a ballot.
Right.
And that would be a quick way to give them the information right there.
Yeah,
That might be a way to do it, I don't know.
a one
And then-
page.
I mean, I assume we can hand out a fact sheet when we're handing out a ballot, right?
I don't know.
I don't know.
You can have them available, but I don't, there's something about
You can't like
The ballot-
sway them.
Yeah, you
or
don't want
something.
if
influence
there's
or
a
whatever.
poll or something.
Yeah.
But we ought to have the information available to them if they
Right.
desire.
Put post on the wall or something.
Yeah,
Post
it'd
it.
be something.
Yeah,
Just clear everything off the bulletin board. Just put that right in the middle.
And my earlier statement was saying that if we could get everybody together for, for something, for an informational thing, the town, the committee, and what effects it would have, and why we're doing what we're doing.
Right.
Yes.
The pros and cons from every aspect of the situation, and have that, as part of the general information thing, but it has to be quick, because you want it before October 6th, if you wanna do it.
So we do
So,
October 5th?
so,
October 5th is a Thursday.
I guess, you'd have to almost leave this meeting in this week.
Yeah.
Either form some type of if you want to put an ad in the paper, or these public hearings that you want to have, you almost have to decide that by the end of this week.
We have a meeting at the end of the month with the school board, correct?
25th.
18th.
The 18th,
The 18th.
Or
I
18th.
guess we can
Is
make
that a
that,
good
right?
time to,
it's next
When is
Monday.
Next
Well, that's a
Monday,
week from
I
today.
guess that could wait.
a week from today, right?
And we would have an
We-
open discussion
What
about,
time is
at that point
I
in
mean,
time?
I
or-
assume the school boards are gonna want input on the information packet, if that's what we wanna call it. I'm assuming they're.
Do we wanna try to have a public information session that last week of September?
On the first.
Somewhere between the 25th and the 29th?
Yeah.
Or the very first week of October, correct? Which would have
Well,
to
the
be-
6th would be
Oh,
Friday, October 6th.
We wouldn't hold it on a Friday,
No,
Yeah.
I'm saying that's when,
but we can go back,
that's when absentee ballots,
yeah.
Get picked
Sorry.
up, right? They can pick up an absentee ballot starting the 6th, is that correct?
It's 30 days before,
Yeah.
Yeah, I have
She's
the,
done the math.
Right, but I mean, they can't pick it up before that.
Yeah, I think election is November 7th. I'm just
Right.
Yeah.
That's, yeah.
subtracting 30.
Yeah, that's right, you're right.
so the
They can't
7th would
pick
fall
up
on a
on
Saturday, so would it
Saturday.
actually be Monday?
So we
Pam?
could, we could have it the first week of October, in theory.
The 7th falls on a Saturday.
Yep.
So it'd be the following Monday that absentees?
Which is a Columbus Day, is that a holiday, so is it the 10th?
It would be the 10th.
So it'd be the 10th then?
Possibly.
10th of what, 10th of
Be a month from
October?
now.
Yeah.
Does
10th of
everybody have
October?
Columbus Day off, we could do it the 9th.
Right, if you
What-
wanna say.
Go ahead.
Not gonna be open.
I think, yeah, I think the 10th of October would be good. I think at that point in time, the 10th of October, if that's the first one, I would also do the 10th of October, yeah, we're meeting there, but also have one like a week and a half, like maybe 2 weeks later.
Yeah.
And then, so the
On a
10th of
different day.
October would be the first one,
Yeah.
and public meeting, have it publicized, and have the different disciplines there, you know? Maybe they could talk for 5 minutes as to why we did what we did, what the implications is on the town, and then at that point in time, go into general questions, and have the people there, if the people have a question, then they would have the people that are there, the architect, whatever there, that would answer those type of questions that they have at the public hearing.
It would have to be before the 10th.
Go ahead.
Here's the way I would think of it. Our customers are taxpayers, right?
Yep.
We're asking them to invest $10 million. We'll just say that. So we need to present, not to convince them one way or the other,
Exactly right.
but to give them the whole story.
Yes.
And it's facts, right? It's this and this and this, and this is what the proposal is. This is what we're asking you to invest in, and these are the implications. And to me, that's like a one-pager. That, it's, not all the flowery words and all this type of good stuff, but here is what we're asking you to buy.
And here's how much it's gonna cost.
And here's how much it's gonna cost, and here are the financial implications.
The impact on your home.
Right.
Now, the thing is, the 10th of October is already late for some people, because they already got their ballot and already basically voted and turned them in.
Very few, I think, because they can't get a ballot until the 7th, and that's a Saturday.
But the
So-
10th
And
is,
They can't get a ballot on Monday, the Columbus Day is a holiday, so the first day they can get a ballot is the 10th.
Yeah.
So in theory, someone could come in on the 10th, take the ballot, vote, and return it right then, and not get this
Right.
information. But I would think that'd be a very small percentage of the voters in Winslow, that would be my guess.
but I wouldn't wanna take a chance on it. At least give them the opportunity to listen to it and do it the week before.
So do we wanna pick a date tonight?
October 5th. October 5th and October 25th. The 5th is a Thursday, and then that gives you 2-week buffer, and then the 25th is a Wednesday.
I have a problem with the 5th because of MMA convention.
Oh, yeah. Just skip it.
No problem.
I've already paid for it. Tom, you paid for it.
Don't please.
You paid for it.
How
So
about doing
the
this
5th is
before?
the 5th
You
is a
paid for it.
conflict.
The
What
fourth?
days are the MMA convention? Is it more than one day or is it one day?
4th and 5th.
4th and 5th.
You'll be home by the 5th. We'll have it at 6 o'clock. You'll be
4th and
home.
5th.
Where?
Makes for a long day for Ben.
What about the
At my
3rd?
age, yeah.
On 2
I'm
days.
gone. Do the 12th and the 25th.
Well, what about
Ray,
the
what do you
10th
think?
and the 25th?
But you're missing,
The
Oh,
first
crap,
half of
that's
the
right,
meeting,
sorry.
yeah.
Okay.
What about the 3rd and the 18th?
Ray, what do you think?
Go ahead.
I just want to step back just a minute, and I don't want flowery things to be presented either. But I also want to make sure that the reasons why are also presented as to some things aren't figure cuts, it's not just figures, but there's a reason why that is there too. And it's not flowery, but it is just the people there that.
Well, I think, yeah, my idea of the format of the flowery language is for a handout or a letter. My
I'm
idea-
not in favor of that either, not, naturally,
Right,
not.
Right, but I think my impression of what the presentation would look like would be sort of a pro and con. Would you do that? Would you
Here's
have,
my thought.
would you have some people?
And if you want, I'll draft up a straw dog one-pager. From what I understand, the reason we're doing this is that we cannot afford to renovate the junior high to bring it back to an acceptable standard.
Yeah.
In addition to that, the enrollment's going down, so even if we did, we'd end up with too big a building for the number of students. So therefore, the option is to utilize our existing two other school structures and invest in those to bring them up to a capacity to be able to take the 7th and 8th grade to the high school and the 6th grade to the elementary. And to do that, we need to invest in classrooms, lab facilities, and so forth. That's the education infrastructure. We also need to invest in the gym to bring that up to a full capacity rather than the half. And we need to expand the cafeteria at the high school so we can get all those kids to eat and hopefully offset the $216,000 we run into red every year. That's another issue. In addition to that, there is a proposal to build a performing arts center. And that equates to 2.9 million or whatever. And so breaking all these things out, that's what's there. Now, I don't want to impose my judgment to say that we do need and that we don't. I think the people of Winslow are bright enough to figure it out.
But wouldn't you want the, maybe you're right, maybe we shouldn't be, maybe either side shouldn't be advocating, maybe it should just be facts and figures, but wouldn't you want the person who's gonna be the teachers or teacher who will be using the Performing Arts Center to get up and make a presentation of why she thinks it's necessary? Or
Good,
she-
but I thought we'd already been through that.
Right here.
But I think, sorry.
Go ahead.
I think that while I respect your opinion about how you don't think that Performing Arts Center is needed, there is an educational side to that maybe you're not aware of. And so that's why I think that those teachers maybe should talk about the educational side. We do need the space. We don't have the right storage area for band and chorus and theater, which is somewhat educational. It's not just.
Now, well, the band already had the band room.
Right, but when we're adding on two more additions, two more classes, basically, there is no space for what there currently is now. The 600-seat performing arts thing, I can see where maybe people have issues with that.
Right.
But the educational chunk of that, of the 2.9, there is some renovations that are being made to hold different classrooms and that sort of thing. So that, I think they think a beautiful 600 state-of-the-art seat, whatever thing, but there is an educational side that I think needs to be brought up. I do not think pros and cons should be brought up though, because I think that's very opinionated.
Right, but
So.
you don't object to someone explaining why they want a Performing Arts Center?
I would like to stay as factual as possible because I don't want people. I don't want people to get on their soapbox and start crying and whatever. I don't like that.
No,
But I just factual part of it.
I agree.
Sorry, if I may. It was brought up to us in the meeting that it gets used all but 19 days a year.
I mean, that's a fact that could be presented.
No,
that people should
no,
know.
no. Let's back up a minute. It's used all but 19 school days a year, but that wasn't presented.
Okay,
It was told as it's used all but 19 days a year,
19 days out of the school calendar is what they meant to say, what they should have said.
but it was not worded that way, and it wasn't worded that way specifically in my eyes.
Who's gonna go in July? Who's gonna?
If you're gonna state it correctly.
There's 30 days
I
in
think it was
July.
implied that it was a school year. I mean, that's how I took it, but maybe I was wrong. Go ahead, Jerry.
How about the 3rd of October?
Jerry wants to be done.
Amanda's got something to say, man.
Just October 25th, we're having a public forum with heads up pedestrian safety with the DOT. It's already a public forum, it's already been campaigned out there, it's
Oh,
at the
okay.
elementary center before it. So you're talking dates, just remember, we're already asking for a public forum on October 25th.
The only date I can do on the first week of October, I'll be traveling, is October 5th. That's the only date I can do. That matters, but I am on 2 committees.
So you could do October 5th, you
Yeah.
said?
I could come back early and put the extra work in.
But Ben would have a hard time with October, harder time with October.
No, it's okay.
Well, what time would we have it, in the evening?
We
My
could do the
guess
10th.
is-
I
We
could
could
be
do-
there in the evening.
We could do the 10th on Tuesday, and then do the 26th a Thursday.
Well, what about the 10th and the 30th?
Yeah.
That would work for me.
That's fun.
A Monday and a Tuesday.
Does it
Well,
work?
The 10th is a Tuesday and the
Oh,
30th.
Can I ask a question of Amanda? Please? Rec sports on
So-
those nights.
Right, so you've got, what else are you talking about? I'm confused.
The 10th and the 30th.
Which is
Actually, the
David.
10th is our town council meeting.
Oh, yep.
Yeah, it is.
That's
Scratch
important.
that.
That's important. The
Mm.
11th.
Well, I guess my question is, are most of the rec sports like a Tuesday, Thursday, or a Monday, Wednesday type of deal?
Right now, running through mid-October is Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday for rec soccer, until happy Sundays. And you got travel soccer, which is Monday, Wednesday, and Tuesday, Thursday. So I think as long as you get a Monday, Wednesday, and a Tuesday, Thursday, so you.
But that's where I'm trying to go
I
with
think
it.
as long as you do both,
Okay.
you're fine.
So the 11th and the 30th.
Yeah.
The 11th is a Wednesday, the 30th is Monday.
You just,
What's the 10th? Okay.
No?
Well, actually.
oh yeah, that's fine.
Oh.
My opinion, you can do the public, publicize it all, do everything. In both times, you'll probably have 50 people there for
Yeah.
each one.
I hope we
Well,
get 50.
that gives us
I hope
100.
we get 50.
That gives
I
us
don't know if we
100.
will.
And those 100 will talk to 100 more.
That's fine.
but
Oh, I'm
they're
in
also gonna
favor of
be-
it, but no matter which day you
I
pick,
know.
Ben,
Yeah,
it's
I know.
not gonna be the best of any
know.
world. You
Right.
just gotta pick them
But the
and just
people that-
go
the
for it.
people that can't get their information otherwise will have to make an effort to make this one.
Yeah, just
Just because they aren't here
Drop your
doesn't
kids off somewhere and
And,
just come.
and I don't know if you need to televise both of them and how much they charge us.
I think that's a
Charge, it's a flat fee.
$140 a meeting, $140. It's well worth it.
Can we
It's
get,
well worth it to get the information out.
Amanda just brought up, having PTO there to babysit kids so that adults could go to, the parents could go to the meeting. Just to say.
Kyle, get on that,
out
would you?
loud. I'm not babysitting them.
But we have a meeting next week, so I can like bring it up.
Mhm.
So the 10th and the 30th,
The 11th.
The 11th and the
We
30th.
have a meeting.
or 11th, okay, yeah.
Yep, sounds good.
And,
Venue,
Yeah,
maybe at the existing Performing Arts Center so we can take a look how.
I
many
think that,
people-
I think that's a good place. I
Yeah.
think
it's
the
the largest.
junior high
area.
is a good place.
No, I'm talking about the
That
high
was
school.
for
We're talking about the
50,
high
we can
school.
do it at the high
Oh,
school.
the 200? Yeah, you'll never get 200 people
Have,
there.
have,
so.
have it at the current
Oh,
Performing Arts Center.
That's a great
High school?
idea. Yeah,
Yeah, high
great
school.
idea. Yeah,
High school.
great idea. Let's
So they
do
can
it.
envision a 600-seater.
And if you want, not to be an absolute, but I'll put some thoughts down on a one-pager, ship it around to everybody and.
Yeah.
and
Then we can
people-
edit it.
Edit, oh, absolutely, that's why it's a straw dog.
Yep.
time? Folks have any sense of what time?
6:30?
6:30.
7's too late?
6.
I think 6 is too early if people are coming from work from Augusta,
True,
maybe.
Either 6:30 or 7.
Yeah.
7.
7 might be too late, depending on how long it goes. I don't know. What do you guys think? What's a good time?
7.
No matter what time we
Hard to
pick, like you
say.
say, someone can't make it because
Hard
of
to
the
say how
time.
long it will last. I don't know.
I think 6 is better than 7. That's just my personal
Why don't we go
opinion.
with 6:30?
6:30 is
People have a
fine.
chance to get home and have a
Yeah.
bite to eat before they
Yeah,
go, that way
yeah.
maybe.
That's fine. Got another comment from the public.
Yes.
If you're done with that one, I had something I wanted to just slip back to for a moment, since you're into a discussion mode, if that's okay.
That's fine.
Are you all set with that one?
I think so.
I took Counselor Karen's advice and went to winslow.gov and to the site that we have this information on. I heard you guys talk a little bit about tonight, the effect on the mill rate, and the minutes from the June meeting of that building committee at the at the high school that night did talk about bond that was retired, or debt service that was reduced this year in town. Some of that you used for your infrastructure bond, and some of it was used to support the school budget, which did give some monies to work towards the potential cost of a bond. And that with the reduced savings, or operating expenses, you know, there were some numbers that were talked all about between the 20 and 30-year bonds of a .486 increase in mill rate or a .317 increase in mill rate. So I often heard at the August town council meeting that, you know, the mill rate's gonna go up by a whole mill. It's gonna go up by a whole mill, it was printed in the paper, and I felt a little frustrated in hearing that when there have been some other work that's being done. I realize that that's not the town council up there trying to figure out how to do all the budgeting, but there is almost a $250,000 of operational cost savings that has been presented by the superintendent as money that could be realized and helping support this bond effort.
But the
So
problem
these
is-
are the kinds of facts I hope that can come out and
Okay,
affect keeping
the problem is, every year, the school department feels they've gotta go up about 2 to 3% in spending. That 2 to 3% in spending is $200,000 to $300,000. So you might get a savings year one, but if you follow your normal pattern, you're just gonna be right back to where you were.
But
So
isn't
it's
that-
not enduring savings.
Isn't that sort of a false equivalency though, because that's gonna go up anyways, whether we do nothing. Even if we do nothing, it's gonna go up 2%.
But if you think about the economics, right? If they go up 2 to 3% every year, right? The first year, they might have a deduct. Now, I have yet to see it absolutely written, but let's go down, right? Year two, it's gonna be right back to where the budget was before. So any operating savings that you can count on to offset the debt service is now gone.
I'm talking about the heat, the electricity,
Yeah.
the maintenance.
Those things are gone if we close the building.
That's about $12,000.
Well, the total number that was given plus reduction in
That
administrative
was-
cost was $247,000.
Right, and that included a janitor, and there was some
Administrative.
undefined administrative and teaching staff.
Well, it's, those numbers are all listed out to get to 247 at that site that I'm
Right.
on right now, on your website, so.
Well, no, actually, that's the minutes from your meeting.
But it's on your website.
Right.
Yeah.
No, actually, I think it belongs to the town. You know, it's not mine.
No, I know. The town's website, the one that Councilor Karen.
One of the things, you can maybe help your school committee understand this. One of the things this council proposed was forming a joint ad hoc finance and performance committee to really get into the numbers and to really make sure we understand what's ahead. Now, the preliminary feedback was the school committee isn't interested in it. On the 18th, they're supposed to take a vote on that proposal. And I would hope that the school committee is as interested in getting into the numbers and understanding the short term and the long term, because our enrollment's going down every year. In 2000, there were 1,500 kids. By 2020, the school department's forecast, there'll be about 1,000. So we will have lost 500 kids in 20 years. If you extrapolate that out over the next 5 years, there's gonna be fewer kids. Yet we spend more and more and more every year. Something's gotta come in alignment here sooner or later. That's my concern.
My offer was that you're looking at some anticipated revenues coming in from the changes that could have come about with the law, but there is some potential savings that could help support the bond, which has been talked about through that committee.
And so I think that if the school committee could commit to those savings and put together that forecast, then maybe we could have a little bit of more assurance. This year, for example, we actually had a bigger local share than we did the year before, which is property taxes. That's the problem.
Yeah, but I'm still trying to wrap my head around this, Ken, because you're still talking about the operational part of the budget and the structural part of the budget, the heating bill, the electricity bill, the janitor, those things, if those things go away, they don't come back, the operating costs are gonna go up 2% a year. But they would go up 2% a year whether or not we did the bond or not,
From the base.
from the base.
Yes. So I think that if you work the numbers out, we spend something like 10.3 mils just to support our local share of education, okay? So if that keeps going up, your mill rate's gonna go up, just to support the operating side. You know, if you look at, and you know, I can pull it out, Steve. If you go back about 5 years ago, our local share was a little bit over 5 million. 5 years later, it's 6.6 or something. So the problem is, we keep spending more and more and more and more, so that any one-time savings are wiped out later on, because you just overwhelm it again. You know, if you want, I can show you the model.
Well, some of that increase though is due to the decrease of funding we get from Augusta too.
No, not really. This year, actually, we lost, what was it, 50,000
From the state,
From
from
the
the year
state.
before.
from the year before. But our
And then
spending went up.
So what did the year before did we lose? I'm saying, yeah, okay,
You know, the year before, we actually got more.
And one of the things is, we're not certain that that Augusta is gonna give us more
oh,
money.
no, that stuff can't be counted on.
Can't be
Yeah,
counted
no
on.
No question about it.
And whatever we have from closing the junior high doesn't mean that it's that we save that money for a long period of time. Doesn't take that long to wipe it out.
Yeah, but my point is, if you don't close the junior high, you're gonna have a heating bill, a utility bill, a janitor bill, an assistant principal bill. You're gonna have those bills continue on, plus the 2%.
Right.
If you close the building, you eliminate those costs every single year. Those aren't gonna be there, year 1 or year 10. Those costs won't be there. You will not ever hire another custodian for the middle school, for the lack of a better.
And I say this respectfully, and I appreciate all the opinions here. We stated at the beginning of the meeting, and I can't remember if it was an executive session, but a long time ago, my grandfather worked at the mill, and when he graduated from high school, it was guaranteed that he was gonna work at the mill. And when I got out of high school, when I got out of college, I was almost guaranteed that I would be working the mill. But that doesn't, to train those students that way right now is not the thing. Then I think when we have to give the services to some extent, to train these kids so that they can face the challenges of today's society, which has changed so much over the last 20 years, to get these kids to a point where we need to, so that it costs more to educate a kid now, where a lot of that education is based on what used to be picked up by society, now is based in the school system. And Kyle, I don't mean to think that I'm an expert on that, and you can talk more about that than I could. I'm just here presenting this viewpoint.
That's the other thing, Steve, you had talked about state education. There's an EPS funding formula. There's 2 or 3 major components. One of the major components is enrollment. So with enrollment going down, that funding formula is gonna adjust it. The other part of it is the local assessed value. The formula says that you have got to have a minimum local share of 8.3 mils.
Yes.
Okay, so one of the reasons, Waterville got like $700,000 more than they got the year before. One of the reasons is because their property tax assessed value is lower per capita, so their 8.3 mils is less money, and the state makes up the difference. So once you get into that EPS funding formula, Winslow's, I don't want to say maxed out, but we have to put in at least 8.3, which is in that formula.
But to play devil's advocate though, maybe you reverse the decline by having that high school rebuilt, for lack of a better term. Because we have a lot of tuition students that we used to get that don't come here anymore.
That was primarily China.
Right.
That's now going to Mesowan.
Right. And I'm saying, there's gonna be, well, that's a different discussion.
So that's I have one
Yeah,
more that's on a different topic. Another figure which I think could be considered fact in the information you're talking about sharing is that we began with our architect telling us that there's a state regulation saying that we had to add on to the high school when we took those students over from the junior high. So it wasn't a want. You have to have a certain number of square feet of space that you need to be able to house them, and that is governed by what the regulators in Augusta are given for us. So there was a number that our architect started with, and I believe it was around
Talking about square feet or something like that?
about 10,000 square feet, I believe it was, of classroom space that you would need to be
add.
able to put that population, based on the population projection, over there.
That's 185 square feet per student. That's a state standard.
Right.
So if you look when you look at the number of square feet in the high school and the students, we theoretically have enough square feet. If you think about it, there was more students in 2009 with just the high school than we're planning to have in 220 with the 7th and 8th grade. So the issue is,
What it was I heard when the architect
well,
came in.
that's why you gotta get into the numbers and really understand them. And that's what's concerned me about this. This project started out at 5.3 or 5.8, then went to 8.3, now it's 9.7.
It was
So-
13, but it went down.
Okay, let's, we can wrap this up. We've got a date and a time, and someone to write up the first presentation, the
Yep.
first draft.
Yep.
The other question I have is that last piece of paper that came around, we have to we never talked about, we have to designate a voting member to the Maine Municipal MMA Convention. Is that right? Is that how I read that? We never
I
did?
don't know.
And you are going already?
Yeah.
So we'll put him down as the number one,
Sounds good.
and if we
We all
need,
signed it.
Indefinitely?
huh?
Forever?
That's just this year.
And I believe there's a room for an alternate. I'm not sure I'm gonna go, but I'd like to. And so I may put my name down as the alternate, but Ben, I'm gonna count on you being there.
It'd be nice if you did.
I'm gonna try to.
Good meal.
So, you're
He's there for
handwriting-
the food,
you're
not for the
handwriting
info.
Ben, so I'll have you write down Ben's name.
The swag?
Can I move,
Make that motion right now.
can I move
Go.
can I move to adjourn?
Until the discussion item, this meeting went pretty fast.
It's good discussion.
So we had to have that.
All in favor?
No
All in favor, please raise your right hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got a bottle of that.